Welcome to Lit Vibes Only, where we lit the shit out of books we love and hate. I'm Kelsey, the unhinged, diehard, romantic and fantasy reader.
And I'm Amanda, the insightful thrill seeker and historical fiction nerd. Welcome back, friends. It has been a minute. We're on a slightly different release schedule because of some technical difficulty. But just as a quick recap for folks, if you're not on socials or not sure what happened and why we're behind or a little bit off for our release schedule, the last time that Kelsey and I went to record, two things happened. One is Kelsey was recording on her husband's laptop and it was super choppy and just not working video wise. And then number two, I did not hit the record button and neither of us realized that it wasn't recording until we were almost done. We were like,
I feel like that is such a newbie mistake and we're not newbies. Oh my goodness.
And we literally, this is like our 80 something episode and that has never happened before. Literally never. So I am grateful we've made it this far without making that blunder. But that's why things are off. If you were things like, happen. Oh no, did they disappear forever? We're back. But if you are not following us on our socials and didn't get those updates about our revised release schedule, to be following us. We're on Instagram at @litvibesonly_podcast, and then on both YouTube and TikTok, Lit Vibes Only Podcast. So be sure that you are liking, following, commenting, subscribing. That way you are in the loop with all the things and are also just getting a bunch of extra fun bookish content. Come hang out with us. Come vote on these episodes and let us know if they are lit it or quit it for you every Thursday whenever we drop these episodes. The other thing that's really important if you want to be in the know is you should join our Fable book clubs. The book club books align with our lit. Got it. I got this. You can tell that it's been a minute since we've done this. It aligns with the books that we're reading on the podcast. So you can read along with us, comment, leave feedback, and then you're ready to go for these episodes. Even if you've read the book prior and you're not actually reading it with us, you can still join the book club and share your thoughts and reflections and just get hyped for the episode. So I am Lit Vibes Only Amanda. Kelsey's Lit Vibe Only Kelsey on Fable. So come find us. Come hang out with us. And then most importantly, if you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, please take a moment and hit that download button.
Yes.
That really helps to boost our, I don't even know what the correct word would be, our listenership.
Listening-ship.
It gives us more visibility. Basically, it bumps us up the rankings if we have more downloads and we'll get promoted more. It's even more important than rating and reviewing, which you should totally do. Take a minute, hit that 5-star button, write a 1 or 2 sentence review. But we've learned recently that, that download number really helps us. And it also just gives us a better sense of who is actually listening because it's difficult to track the metrics for that otherwise on the platform that we use. Yeah. So thank you in advance for just being awesome supporters, sticking with us. And we're really excited for this episode to
finally re-record.
This is going to be so interesting because it has now been, well over a month since I read this book. And Kelsey, I know it's even longer for you because you read it before I did. So
I don't even know. I don't even remember what we talked about, to be honest.
I know. I don't either. I'm going to do my best with the summary. But before we dive into the book, Kelsey, what are you reading currently?
To highlight our Fable accounts, right now my book club is reading Air by Tahereh, and
I need to read that.
I have the book for you, so we need to just
awesome
connect
so I can get that.
And I just finished it.
Ooh, okay.
And I was so sad to finish it because the second one is not out, Amanda.
Okay, this is just why do you do this to yourself? At least wait until the series is finished.
Tahereh is such a great author.
She is.
I don't even know when the next one comes out, to be honest. I think it's this year some point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this her latest book?
Yes, it is. And let me see. When did it come out? It was fairly recent. Okay, the second one is called Empire. And it comes out this September. So 22nd of September. Oh my gosh. We're going to be busy this fall.
I know. There's so many books that are being released. At least books that you're excited about.
Burn is getting released in September. I'm going to be on maternity leave. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Just you and books and baby. It's going to be great. And also Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is coming out, the movie.
Yeah.
So
I thought you were thinking about when you said ballad, I was like the Ballad of, it's a different one that I'm gonna have you read at some point, but it's like a monster. And I think the second book is coming out soon. But I was like, wait, there's a movie out? But you're talking about the Suzanne Collins. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So. Very excited for that. And yeah, listeners, we have an episode, so you should totally go back and listen to that before the movie drops. So you're like ready to go. But my book that, of course, I just finished, because I'm always just finishing things on the weekend, was a book that my friend Anna recommended. Hi, Anna. And it was What Kind of Paradise by Janelle Brown. And the cool thing about this book is that one of the characters is based on the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski. And it's fascinating. It's from his daughter's perspective. In real life, I don't think he had a daughter. But in this story, this character who is based on the Unabomber has had a family, has a daughter that live in a cabin in the woods. And it's like this dive into the way that technology has changed our culture, and for better or for worse.
Okay.
And really makes you stop and think. Got some complex gray characters in there. It was a 5-star read for me.
Okay.
Absolutely enjoyed it. And yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but it was really fascinating. And it also then made me want to research a little bit more about the Unabomber. The character is not like, it's not like a biographical retelling of his life at all. It's just that this character has some similarities to the Unabomber.
Okay.
So he was very against the rise of technology, and then was sending off bombs in the mail to people and all of that stuff. Stuff that Ted Kaczynski did. Anyhow, yeah, crazy stuff. You know me, I like weird books, and that was great.
Oh my God, though.
But
can I share? Okay, so I went and saw a movie at 9:15 last night.
Just so late for me.
It was so late for me, where I'm like going home these days and sleeping. Oh my God. Yeah. It was Marama. It's a Maori. They are deeming it like this horror film, but it really wasn't horror. Although it was, okay. I'm not describing this well.
What was this movie?
It was produced and directed and written by this Maori man. And the lead is a Maori woman. And oh my God, Amanda, it was so fucking good. And I was like crying afterwards because of like how impactful all of it was. But basically, it's an interpretation of colonization and the effects it has on a family's lineage. And oh my God, it was just really intense. And it was also about reparations, and oh my God, it was just, and revenge. And
wait, what makes it a horror then? Was it just the revenge part?
No, it's because like
violent?
Oh yeah, it's very gory. And especially, you can't depict colonization without essentially horror, right? Like and violence.
Okay, sure.
And no, it was so good, but it's in limited theaters. But I just hope if you're hearing this, you have the opportunity to see it, because it was a fantastic film. At some point it'll be out, but right now it's very limited showings. And I saw it at the SIF. And to tell you as well, there was another showing after us, so at 11 something. And I was like, oh
my God,
how are you doing this way, people? But anyway, I thought our showing was really late. And
yes. No. I'm like a 7:30 moviegoer.
Or
that's
earlier.
Like the perfect time. Get out around or earlier, 9:30, 10. I'm on my way home. Like,
yeah.
Oh my goodness, that sounds amazing though. The only thing is I don't handle gore well. So if it's really gory, like I think I mentioned this. Maybe I didn't, but I've had a bunch of people recommend that show, The Pit, on HBO to me. And I got halfway through the first episode. It's about the hospital. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got halfway through the first episode and I had to turn it off. I literally felt so nauseous. Like, it just showed everything. This woman had gotten her legs sheared off by a train. And I'm like, I cannot watch this.
God.
Like, I don't have the wherewithal, the physicals. I just can't. I can't do it. So if it's really gory, I probably wouldn't be able to. But I do the concept of it. That sounds amazing.
I initially was like hesitant because it is deemed a horror film, and I was like, I hate being scared and hate these things. There was a few jump out things, but it wasn't. I don't know. There was this moment where some guy came up behind her and grabbed her, right? Okay. So that made me jump a little. But then there was these times she was like looking in the mirror, and then her face would move differently while in the mirror. But it was all, it wasn't just to be scared. It was furthering the plot line. It was so well done, so interesting.
It sounds really smart too. Yeah.
Yes, it was. And it's his first film. I was like, holy fucking shit. This is a masterpiece. It will definitely be getting awards, or should. If it doesn't,
it should be.
You know, the system's rigged, which we all know it is. But anyway, it was good.
Well, I'll have to look into it for sure. But yeah, I struggle with horror just from the gore and because I startle super easily. It's just not a good combination. But I do like psychological thrillers. The stuff in the mirror I could handle, and that kind of thing where it's just a sense of unease or it's eerie or like off. I can handle that. But as soon as blood starts gushing and limbs are gone, I'm like, I can't.
I was like, do limbs get gone? Maybe.
Oh God. I'm sure Cesario loved it because he loves horror. So it's right up his alley.
But I think in general it just made you really think.
Yeah,
so anyway,
it sounds like
I just want to highlight that.
All right, Kelsey, shifting gears, can you share with folks why you had me read This Woven Kingdom by Tahereh?
Yes, it has been on my TBR for a long time, and I'm just so over the same old romantasy books that we have out there. I really want to step away from like all the Sarah J. Maas and the Rebecca Yarros and whoever else, like everybody else. Yeah. And where I'm trying to be really intentional about finding stories that are not necessarily rooted in my culture or the wider Western culture. And that was part of the reason why I wanted us to read This Woven Kingdom. Wait, is it deemed like a Persian
mythology?
Okay. Cool. I'm glad I'm not off there for remembering. But yeah, and so I was just really stoked about it and curious about what would come up and maybe what I would learn in this book. So that's really why.
Okay. You have a question for me.
Yeah. So Amanda, was this a lit it or quit it for you? Dun, dun, dun.
I was thinking about, I was like, what did I say the first time? Because this was definitely a book.
I remember
that I was like, I was on the fence about it because it's smack in the middle. It was 3 stars for me, and it's a soft lit it. Okay. Which I think is what I said the first time.
Yes, it was. Don't go changing your mind over here.
It was an absolute quit it. No, it was a soft lit it for me. And we'll get into why a little bit later.
So Amanda, can you share with us what happens in this book? And remind us of the characters because I do not know.
Yeah. Gosh. You should know more than I do because you've rered the 3 books so far.
Oh, no, the 4.
3 books. The
That's
4.
Right,
God.
I did.
Yeah, exactly.
This does not mean I remember anything. It's actually really hard to compartmentalize like all of the books.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm sure they also just bleed all together. I'm going to give this my best shot. Again, it's been a while since I read this, and it's also a longer book, and it's a fantasy book, so there's a lot going on. So bear with me. So This Woven Kingdom, it primarily focuses on a young woman named Alizeh. She lives in this country, I guess, region called Ardunia. And a little bit of context for this world. So in this world, there are humans, which are called clay. And then there is this race of superhumans, humans with powers. Beings with powers, I should say. They're not humans, but they look like humans. They're called jinn, and they have supernatural abilities, like they can heal really fast. They can turn themselves invisible. They're impervious to fire. They're like made from fire. They're like forged from fire. And obviously humans are made from the earth. That's why they're called clay. So this is the context for the world. In this current state, the jinn have been essentially overthrown. and are living in subjugation. They are not allowed to use their powers. They are pretty much shunned and ostracized. They're given the worst jobs in society. And humans, a lot of humans fear them, obviously, because they have these abilities that they don't. Specifically in Ardunia, there is this set of laws called the Fire Accords, which essentially dictates how clay and jinn can live in harmony together. And the person who rules over Ardunia is King Zal. He has a grandson named Kamran. And Kamran is very much a soldier. He's often at the front of whatever current battles are happening, primarily with their neighboring country, Toulon. They don't get along. So that's the context, the setting for this story. Okay. So Alizeh, at this point, she is a young woman in her, I think, early 20s, or she's 18 or something. Normal fantasy age. They're all 19.
They're little babies.
And we know a little bit of her past, that she had parents. They are both now dead. Mm-hmm. We know that she is jinn, and we know that unlike other jinn, she is, one, always cold, and two, her eyes change color all the time. They shift between brown and then this icy kind of blue color, which is really unnerving for people. So she works as a maid, as a domestic in the house of a wealthy woman called Duchess Jamila, and she is the aunt of the prince. So she's a very wealthy woman. All maids in this world wear something, or in this country wear something called a snoda around their eyes while they're working, to indicate that they are in fact domestic help. She wears hers all the time though, because she doesn't want people to see her eyes and freak out. One of the things to know about Alizeh is that she is a very talented seamstress. In her free time, when she's not cleaning the house, she makes these really gorgeous dresses for the wealthy women of
or she's
town.
Trying to.
She's trying to. She's trying to get her business going. We also know that she is often visited by the devil, who in this world, in Persian mythology, is Iblees. And whenever he shows up, usually at night while she's trying to sleep, bad things happen after he visits her. And in this latest interaction, she sees the face of this man, and she's not sure who this person is, but he shows up. The devil speaks to her in some strange riddle, and she's like, great, something bad's going to happen. The next day, she is off to deliver a dress to this customer of hers. And while she's going to deliver the dress, she is accosted by a young street urchin who we find out later is named Omid. He tries to rob her. Omid, thank you. Omid. And he tries to rob her. Yes. Alizeh, who again, we don't really know entirely what her history is, but we get these hints that she was like jinn royalty. Obviously, again, she has these special abilities. She knows how to fight. So she pretty quickly disarms him and goes about her merry way. She also instructs him to stop by the house where she works at to maybe get some food, because clearly this kid is starving. What she doesn't realize is that this entire interaction was witnessed by the Prince Kamran, who is recently back from the front. And he's like, who the heck is this woman? Clearly she can fight. We are currently in conflict with our neighboring country, Toulon. She's probably a spy. So he goes back to his grandfather, King Zal, and he's like, I think there's a spy that I saw. I think we need to do some investigating. And we also find out, too, that Kamran ended up, after Alizeh left to continue on and deliver this dress, Kamran approached the boy and was like, hey, that woman who you were just interacting with, who was she? Why were you doing that? Et cetera, et cetera. He was going to turn this boy into the magistrate for trying to rob someone. And the boy was like, please don't. I would rather kill myself than go to the magistrate. And he's like, why? You're totally overreacting. And the boy literally stabs himself in the neck to avoid being taken to the magistrate. That is important to know. Keep that in mind for later. So he sends the boy off to get help. Ultimately, Omid's life is saved, and he will show up again in a moment. In the meantime, Kamran, like I said, tells his grandfather, the king, what he has witnessed. And so they start to take action to learn more about Alizeh and do some kind of spying of their own on here. King Zal also, at the same time, wants to throw a ball for Kamran, because it wouldn't be YA fantasy without a ball. So he wants to throw a ball because he wants Kamran. It's so true. He wants Kamran to find a wife because he knows he's getting older. He needs to make sure that their line continues and there's stability in the kingdom, blah, blah, blah. So all of this is happening simultaneously. While Kamran and his right-hand man and friend, Hazan, are trying to get more information on Alizeh. They discover a couple of things about her. They discover that she does work at the house of this wealthy woman, Kamran's aunt. They discover that she has weird-looking eyes, and they do realize that she is, in fact, jinn. And so all of that information comes out. They also, when Kamran reports this information back to his grandfather lets him know that he received this prophecy when he became king, that he was basically going to be destroyed ultimately by this creature, this monster with ice in its veins, right? And that seems to track with Alizeh, right? Because she's always cold and her blood is clear and her eyes turn blue and all of this stuff. So King Zal is like, I got to kill this girl. I know she seems innocent and sweet and defenseless, but she's up to no good. So he sends men to go and kill her. And Alizeh ends up disarming all 6 of them. She murders 5 of them and then sends one of them back to the king. So he gets the message to leave her the
with
heck
her
alone.
Needles.
So
her
with her sewing needles.
Yeah, I was like, what was like her knitting needles? But yeah.
So she literally uses her seamstress tools to take out these 5 men. It's pretty impressive. So the king is like, oh, dang. Okay, so she's way more formidable of a foe than I realized. Let's pump the brakes on this whole enterprise, and instead let's just do some reconnaissance and get some more information about her. So he sends Kamran to his aunt's house where she works to sneak into her bedroom and get some more information. While he is there, Alizeh spills some water all over the floor, makes a huge mess. It's super embarrassing for the lady of the house that her help is just behaving poorly and making mistakes while she has the royalty in her home. So she basically fires her in the moment. It's like, go pack your bags. Both of them end up in Alizeh's room. Alizeh and Kamran both end up in her little attic room because he's obviously there to spy on her and she's there to pack up her clothes. They have this very intimate moment and they kiss and there's sparks and it's, oh my God. And long story short, he goes off and she's like, we can't do this again. She is now homeless, doesn't have a job. So this is also, again, the night of the ball. So all of this is happening at the same time. She got an invite to the ball because Omid got invited to the ball because he was saved by the prince. Now he's like this honored guest. He was allowed to invite one person. He chooses to invite Alizeh since she essentially, was kind to him and didn't kill him when she could have. And so, they're all supposed to be going to this ball. But she now has no place to live. She has nothing to wear. And the woman whose dress she was making for the ball, she has not yet finished making it, and she has nowhere to finish making it. So she's just completely bereft. She ends up going to this apothecary that she visited earlier in the novel because her hands were pretty messed up from all the cleaning that she's been doing. And when she goes to visit him, he's like, hey, someone left a package for you. And it just happens to be like this gorgeous dress, right? Very Cinderella moment. So she's like, oh my gosh, this is great. So then she goes to the woman whose dress she was making. But I'm trying to remember. Well, Miss Huda.
Yes.
Yeah, Huda. So she goes to this young woman, young woman's house. She's wealthy, and she's like, "Hey, just letting you know, I cannot finish making your dress because I don't have anywhere to work." And she's like, "Just hang out here and finish it before the ball." So they're getting ready for this ball when all of a sudden this mysterious man shows up. Neither of them know who she is or who he is, and he has a pair of shoes with him that just so happened to match the dress that she was mysteriously sent. So she's starting to put the pieces together. She thinks that this mysterious man is a friend of Hazan. So remember, that's Kamran's right-hand man.
Yes.
We also find out that Hazan is loyal to the jinn and is basically a jinn spy in the house of the king.
Yeah.
And House of the Royals. And so she thinks this is just another person who's on her side. So she's like, great. Hello, ally. Let's go to this ball together. So they all get together. They get taken to the palace for this ball. And it's really at the palace where everything kind of explodes into this huge climax. Basically, we find out that the random mysterious man who showed up and took Alizeh and Huda to this ball, he is actually King Cyrus, who is the king of Toulon, who is that neighboring country that they don't get along with. We also find out at this ball that the reason why King Zal has been alive for so long, even though he's so old, is because he basically sold his soul to the devil and asked to have his life artificially extended. And in order for him to do that, he has to feed these 2 snakes that are like implanted into his shoulders. He has to feed them the brains of children. And that's what has prolonged his life for this entire time. And all of this comes out at the ball. And it is why Omid did not want to get taken by the magistrate earlier in the novel, because he knew they were kidnapping street children, feeding them to this monstrous king. So King Cyrus is there. He goes to kill King Zal, which he is successful in doing. Obviously, Kamran is not having this, so he rushes into the fray to try and save his grandfather.
Kamran.
He's about to be killed by Cyrus when Alizeh rushes in, essentially saves his life. Then she goes to flee because she's like, everything has gone to shit and I can't be here. As she's trying to escape, a dragon
appears.
Yes, there's a dragon in this book. A dragon bursts through the roof of the ballroom and scoops her up and takes her away. And we come to realize that this dragon is owned by King Cyrus, who, even though he's human, has the ability to do magic. And he ends up magicking himself onto the back of the dragon.
Yes.
They end up heading off to Toulon, and we find out while they're flying there that King Cyrus plans to marry her. And Iblees, the devil, wants to reinstate Alizeh as queen of the jinn because that is her rightful title. And he wants her to basically ultimately wipe out the clay, the humans, and restore jinn and the devil to their rightful place. And that is essentially where the book ends. That was a really long summary.
It was well done. Well done.
Thank you so much. I was like, God, this book, it's been a minute.
It's been a minute, but you remembered the details and you remembered the characters. I was like, I don't know. I don't know that I would have remembered. So great job.
I definitely had a brush up before this.
Okay, no matter. Great job. So Amanda, what were the things that you enjoyed about this book before we get into some of the criticisms or questions?
I don't have too many criticisms, to be honest, but for the positives, as Kelsey was mentioning prior to the summary, I really enjoyed that this book and this author are focusing on Persian mythology. It is not a mythology that I'm familiar with. It is not a mythology that I've really encountered in other novels, certainly not fantasy novels. So I liked that element of diversity in this book. Obviously, because I'm not familiar with Persian mythology, I don't necessarily know like how accurate it is, but I'm assuming it is, especially since that's her culture and heritage. So I did really enjoy that and getting to explore, a mythology that I just don't have a lot of familiarity with. So that was really great.
I looked into, because we talked about Iblees being like the devil, but I guess that it comes up in the Quran around Iblees being the devil. That's what it's called.
Okay. So it's the same. Okay. So it's pulled directly from Islam.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my understanding of what I read.
A whole lot of sense. I think another thing that I liked about the book, which will not surprise anybody because this is often something that I like about some of the fantasy novels that Kelsey.
Yes.
But I do, I'm a fan of badass female protagonists like I am. And I felt like this was a character who was super relatable. I thought she felt very believable. I didn't really get into it too much in the summary, but Alizeh's had a really shitty life. Literally everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong. First, her father was murdered, then her mother. She's basically been living on the streets for most of her life, barely able to get by, sleeping in the gutter, shunned by everyone.
Fully knowing that she's royal. And just sort of accepts this fate and doesn't really look back. She's not trying to do anything with her identity. She's just trying to survive. No. It's really interesting.
And she doesn't have this sense of, and I think we talked about it the first time we went through this, but I feel like she doesn't have this sense of entitlement that I think a lot of people would. If they were like, I'm royalty, I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth and this is what I deserve. And then walking around with this massive chip on their shoulders. She's so humble, she's kind, she's empathetic.
Yeah.
The boy who literally was trying to rob her, she turns around and is like, come to our house for bread.
Even though she doesn't have bread to share, she'd be like literally giving her own portions.
Yes, literally. And so she's just incredibly selfless. And yes, she's a badass fighter and has these cool powers and all of that. But I think, not to sound super cheesy, but kindness in itself is such a strength and is its own kind of superpower, because so many people don't have it, or they prioritize it less than other things. And for her, that's just such an essential part of who she is. So I like that she was like a badass with a lot of heart. I love that she was able to, hold her own with all these mercenaries that are coming after her to kill her.
And that felt like it came out of fucking nowhere, where she was just like,
oh my God.
And I'm like, what?
What just happened?
Because you're like, she's getting beat by the headmistress at her home or her workplace, and she's just like not even batting an eye. She's like, yeah, this is part of the deal. And then busts out these ninja moves later on. Like, what?
I know. Like, it must be so hard to be abused in that way by the head housekeeper and just have to take it knowing that you fully could snap her neck in like 2 seconds.
Yes, that's not I was like, whoa. That's
it
character.
Just takes so much character, self-control to not just go off on this person who is so horribly using you when you know, again, that you are royal, that you're well educated and intelligent, that you in some ways quote unquote deserve so much more, and you're having to put up with this woman's bullshit and you cannot retaliate in any way. She actually says it in the novel. She's talking about how incredibly grateful she is just to have essentially a closet to sleep in and a pallet on the floor. She feels like she's made it because it's so much better than sleeping
in the gutters,
in the gutter on the streets. Yeah. So she's just definitely a female protagonist that's up there for me. And yeah, she's, like I said, she's a badass with heart. So I really enjoyed hanging out with Alizeh and following her journey. And I thought the book also did a pretty good job. And fantasy books aren't always great about doing this, especially the first book in a series. They can get pretty bogged down, understandably, in like exposition, because they're trying to set the stage and explain who the characters are and how they're all related and how the magic in the world works, like all of this stuff. And I do think this was a book that overall gave us just enough information without it feeling overwhelming or without the book slowing down too much. I do think when we get to criticism, we can talk about pacing, but I do think them explaining the history of the jinn in this world, explaining how Iblees came to be, because he was a jinn who kind of went astray, that felt very manageable and digestible and not overwhelming. And I thought it blended in seamlessly with the narrative. And sometimes authors, it can be really clunky. It's like, hold on, let's pause the story. Let me take 10 pages and explain exactly what's going on and why, you know? So I thought she did that pretty seamlessly. What else did I like about the book? I think I just in general liked the characters, because even the quote unquote bad guy, which is King Zal, right? When you get to the end and you realize, oh my God, he made this horrible deal with the devil and he's been like eating children's brains essentially to prolong his life. You realize that the reason why he did that was because, and I didn't mention this in the summary, is Prince Kamran, his dad was killed years ago in war, which meant that if anything happened to King Zal, that Kamran would have had to take the throne at a very young age. And King Zal really wanted him to have a childhood and have an adolescence free of that burden of being the king. And that's why he asked to have his life extended. And I don't know, it felt very human. I like when authors, and in movies too, when you realize villains have some humanity to them. They're not just these horrible people through and through. Like, they have the reasons for why they made the choices that they did, and it's not all just dark and evil and horrible. So I thought it humanized him and made him a little more sympathetic, which I liked. Yeah, those are like the big things I think that come to mind.
That was one of the things I enjoyed about the book too, just humanizing pretty much everybody in the story, no matter how annoying Huda is.
I love
She's
Huda.
like, also you empathize with her because you're just like, fuck, you had a hard life too. And
her stepmom is her mom is so mean to her and says all of these derogatory things.
Isn't it her stepmom? because she's the.
Oh, it is her. No, I was right.
What
It
do
is.
they
Yeah.
call her?
Yeah. She's like a bastard.
Yes, but they don't use that word.
Yeah.
They use something else.
No, she's just she's like
Yeah.
illegitimate.
But she's still part of the family, and it's
yeah.
interesting. But everybody
Yeah,
knows
there's
it
something on the
too. And
Yes.
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. I'm honestly the only person in the book who I don't think is ever redeemed in any way or has any sort of, oh, okay, I can understand, is Kamran's mom. She just seems awful. Like, she doesn't have a huge role in the book, but she's always like jumping out and trying to kill her son whenever he's around.
Her character is really interesting. So weird. And through the 4 books, I didn't feel like I understood her still.
Yeah. Yeah. Even in this book, they don't really give her much of a backstory or explain who she is or her motivation. So she just seems like this crotchety lady who seems really conniving and striving. And it just,
actually, the mothers in this book, in this series, are interesting. Oh my gosh. I'm just thinking about, I wish you would just read the other books.
Maybe I will over the summer. We'll see.
They're so
we
good.
See. I mean, I obviously found this one entertaining, so it's not like I would be like dreading reading the other ones. It's just there are other books that I'm like
more excited about. But one of the things I wanted to say about the book is the humor comes up a little bit in the first book, but the humor in the rest of the series, I am like laughing out loud listening to it.
Oh, okay.
And that is really rare for me, especially in a fantasy romantic book. I remember, I think you were saying it was a little jarring for you because you always think about this genre and you're like, stay in your lane.
Yeah, it's just like word choice. I'm like, are we doing like high fantasy elevated language, or is this a bunch of Gen Z folks talking to each other? Can we figure out what the diction is? And I do find that I'm honestly okay with either. Just don't switch. I think switching between,
but it's like different between characters, right? Between different characters, no?
Yeah, but that kind of like leads me to one of my criticisms, and this came up in some reviews as well, which is like, at times this book feels like, in terms of the language and just the setting, it came across as British Victorian England, just the way that they would refer to things or some of the word choices. And I'm like, okay, are we in Victorian England or are we in sometime in Persian-ish history? So that was a bit weird. And again, with the language choice, I feel like, yes, obviously we talk to different people differently, but even within that, there's still like slang that still aligns with like the broader, I don't know, like language style, language choices you're making. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So yeah, that just, it did throw me a little bit, which you know me, I don't like that.
And for me, that's like, I don't even bat an eye.
Yeah.
The other criticisms that you had?
Yeah, I mean, of course. I can't say that I was like a huge fan of the dragon showing up at the end of the book. And I remember mentioning this the first time around. I think if this is a world in which dragons exist, because dragons are a big deal, they obviously have a big role in the fantasy world. And for her to literally get through, I don't know, 400 pages of a book and doing all of this, not all of this, but some world building, to not mention that dragons exist just seemed like a really big oversight. And so when it showed up at the end, I was like, really? I don't like when authors in books just bring things in at the last minute that seem like you didn't lay the groundwork for it. You didn't even give us a little bit of foreshadowing or a hint or something, because then it feels really contrived. And so to have this dragon burst in literally in the last 10 pages, I was like, wait, hold the phone. What the hell is happening?
And on the flip side, I felt like it was actually a really great introduction to the rest of the series, because magical creatures are in the remainder of the series. And it felt like, oh, we're stepping into a new portion of the book, right? And
but if magical creatures are a part of it, like, why are they not in Ardunia? Is that why they're not mentioned at any other part in this
they're
book?
more rare. Yeah. Okay. They're not just flying around like Fourth Wing. it's not everybody gets a dragon.
Okay, fine. That's fair. But it just, I don't know. I feel like especially the people in Ardunia, like King Zal and Kamran, would be aware that Cyrus has a dragon or dragons and has access to them. Because I feel like they also would have shown up in the war that they're waging and that has been going on for a while. They would mention their dragon battalion. I don't know. It just seemed strange to me. I know it's not a big thing, but that kind of threw me. And then another thing that, again, came up for other folks too was the pacing of this book is weird. I enjoyed it all the way through. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, let me get through this. But if you think about it, right, not a whole lot happens. Like, yes, there's that scene where she fights off the 6 men. There's that really brief scene where she first meets Omid and he's trying to rob her. But honestly, in terms of action, nothing really crazy happens until that last chapter when they're at the ball and everything happened, which I mentioned in the summary. And so it does lag in the middle, and we're just like following Alizeh through her days, scrubbing the floors and making dresses and hanging out at the apothecary. So I could see some readers feeling, especially if they didn't feel particularly connected to Alizeh, I could see them being like, okay, can we pick things up here? This is really dragging on for a bit. And I think she could have probably cut 100 pages or 50 pages to tighten that middle section up a little bit more. So she didn't lose readers. Again, I personally blew through the book. I was reading it on my way to Charleston for spring break and read it in, 5 hours or something. And it was just, I was riveted. I was really engaged. But the pacing was a little strange, I think. Honestly, that's it for criticisms, the other thing, this is not a criticism, but it is this is actually a positive that I forgot to mention. I just thought of it. And I'm sure you were thinking this when you recommended this book, is that because this is YA.
Oh, yes.
There was like no smut. There was no smut.
You're welcome.
In my little heart. Thank you so much. You're so considerate. I was just so happy to just like, okay, they had their little kiss in the closet and they're pining after each other and slow burn all the way. So I did enjoy that.
Great.
Which then actually does bring me to a criticism.
Oh my goodness.
Only because I actually don't have anything against ending a book this way, especially if it's a series. But at this point, because I've read several fantasy and romantic novels, I am over it when at the end of the first book, the FMC and the MMC are suddenly mortal enemies and are like on opposing sides of whatever conflict issue, etc. I know it sets it up to have more depth and nuance and complexity as the series goes, and I get it. It's just that I've seen it done several times at this point, because it happened in, I always forget all these books' name. It happened in not Divine Rivals, in Powerless.
Oh yeah, Powerless.
It happened in that. They end the book and they hate each other and he's out to get her. It happens in Heartless Hunter, where they end and they're mortal enemies. And honestly, it wasn't until you had me read, oh God, what was the fantasy? But you had me read another book more recently. It's called The Crimson Something. And she's got the butterflies and it's the girl in the red dress, Carissa Broadbent.
Oh, but that's
what is
not...
that called?
Hold on.
The reason I'm saying is that's a book where they do end and they're still in love with each other and like all is well. And that was like a deviation from what I read. I don't know, why am I blanking on the name of that book?
I'm blanking because I
know, and you made me read
Daughter of No Worlds.
Thank you. I'm calling it the Crimson Moth because I know she makes these butterflies or something, and they're on the cover and she's in a red dress. I'm like, crimson, red, I don't know. Sorry, guys. I was way off on that one. Yes, Daughter of No Worlds. They end, like the FMC and the MMC are still on the same page and in love. So again, not a huge criticism, and there's nothing wrong with that kind of ending. I get it. It makes sense. But I was like, oh yeah, I've definitely seen this done a couple times at this point.
Was it wasn't mutual, right? It was just Kamran that was like mad at her.
It is just Kamran because he doesn't understand that she didn't actually betray him and she's not in cahoots with Cyrus. She didn't even know who Cyrus was. So it is just very much a misunderstanding at this point. But she also knows she cannot be with Kamran. She's already decided that earlier that this can't work just based on who she is and based on who he is. Although in my mind, because I don't know what happens in the rest of the book, I'm like, if you're looking for a way to create peace between Clay and Jinn, having a Clay king married to a Jinn queen, that could be a really great little partnership, and they could have little hybrid babies and like bring everyone together. I don't know.
And it still is the question if Kamran is the real MMC.
Yeah, that's always the thing, because there is at this point, based on the men that are in the book, I guess Hazan could be an option. He's already on her side, but that seems too obvious. And there's no one else that because Dean, the apothecary, is older than her, and that wouldn't work. So yeah, of course someone else could pop up. And these books always have love triangles, right? That always happens. So I would be surprised if there wasn't.
I want you to read the other books.
Fine, I probably will. I just didn't you say that the last book, or not the last book, the next book, it's not coming out for a while? Year. Oh, okay. Then I could stagger it and read a book every 2 months or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You could.
So I'm yeah. Because I don't know, I just forget stuff if there's too much of a delay.
Yes, I get that.
I don't like to reread. I'm not a rereader, as we know. So.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think those are the big thoughts that I had. I feel like in terms of final recommendations, I'm on the fence. I think that's why I give it 3 stars. I think if you are looking to diversify your reading as a fantasy reader, I think you should check it out for sure. I think I could see some of my students, both in middle school and high school, really enjoying this book, especially my kiddos who do love
fantasy.
Yeah, fantasy. I could see them getting a kick out of this too. So yeah, I think if you're a non-fantasy reader, I don't know. It's not overly complex. It's not one of those fantasy novels where you feel like you need a reference book and a map and a dictionary. You don't need all of that. It's very accessible. So it could be a good dipping your toe in the waters of fantasy, perhaps. So yeah, I guess I recommend it.
I'm where are we going with this?
I don't know.
Talking yourself into it. And obviously, yes, I do recommend it. I had fun with it. And so that is really my baseline.
It is time to do our reviews. Literally the best or literally the worst. And we're going to get through all of them this time.
I hope so. My God.
Yes, we are. We're still recording. And the nice thing is we're recording in a new platform today. And we can see... We can see very easily that it's recording and how long we've been recording, which is really nice. So that helps with some of the stress. But I've got the 1-star reviews and Kelsey's got 5-star. And again, I'm sure things will come up in the reviews that we'll want to comment on that we didn't already. So my first one is from Elle, first 1-star review from Goodreads. And it says, DNF 30%. This was awful, just awful. Without question, one of the worst books I read this year. The writing was so bad. I cringed every 2 sentences as it managed to be at the same time ugly, confusing, and cliche. And English isn't my native language, so it has to be really terrible for me to cringe that badly. The world building was so underdeveloped that it was laughable. The text was full of inconsistencies. There was no plot. Nothing happened. It was just boring filler or a badly written retelling of Cinderella. The characters had no density whatsoever. It was extremely superficial, cliche, insta-love. He's a prince. He's handsome. He picked up her things when she dropped them. Plus, she's pretty. She's a hardworking servant. So different from all the other girls he met before. Equals, our love is destiny and will consume us. Gosh, it was awful. Nothing to save here.
And also, they only went 35%.
30%. Just 30. So, yeah.
I don't know. I don't trust them.
I mean, it definitely is a bit of a Cinderella story, for sure. That is definitely in there. But the world building is not extensive. So I could see them thinking, especially if they're a fantasy reader, them thinking it's underdeveloped. But for a YA fantasy, I felt like there was enough. I didn't feel overwhelmed by it, but I also didn't feel lost. So I don't know. Yeah.
There were some things specifically they said that it was cliche. Did they say cliche?
It was cliche.
I don't know. I just don't agree. It's whatever.
Yeah. And I always, whenever someone's only read a portion of the book, I take their reviews with a huge grain of salt. I'm like, you didn't actually see how things unfolded and developed.
Okay. So my first review is hilarious, and this is
this the one
Yes,
you
this is
stopped
the
on?
one you were like, Kelsey,
Okay.
stop. And I was like, what happened?
And I was like, we're not recording.
Like,
this is
oh
so
my
disastrous.
God. So hopefully nothing happens during this. So this is from Eamon.
Okay.
Tahereh Mafi put her whole Tahussy into this. This was 40 chapters of badassy, ecstasy, and euphoria. This book single-handedly cured my depression. It's been a hot minute since I picked up a fantasy book, and after reading this book, I won't be able to get enough. This shit was gold. The writing, immaculate. The characters, I would die for them. The ending, Tahereh, if you don't drop book 2 immediately, knife emoji. I was here for every minute of this book, from the Persian mythology that was woven into it to the lush romance. Oh my fucking God. I was not disappointed once. Our main girl, Alizeh, badass to say the least. Kamran deserves the fucking world. The way Kamran is falling hard for Alizeh. You have consumed my thoughts since the moment I met you. I feel now in your presence entirely strange. I think I might fetch you the moon, if only to spare your tears again. Ah! This book reminded me why the forbidden love trope is my favorite. We get this knife to the throat scene that had me screaming into the night sky. Speak the truth now, or I will slit your throat is a love language. Tahereh deserves to get her ass ate for publishing this masterpiece. Not gonna lie, ma'am, is that bitch.
What just happened? This person is totally, absolutely, unequivocally unhinged.
I don't think
like,
there was
what
anything about the book
like,
in there.
Oh my gosh. Literally, where do you find these reviews? What is it about fantasy and romantasy readers that are just like, they lose their shit when they're like reading and writing these? Oh gosh. Oh, that's so funny. What did she call her? Tahussy?
Oh
Literally,
my God.
none of my reviews can compare.
Nor mine.
Okay.
That was so
okay.
hilarious.
Well, there's no question that this person really loved
5
this book.
out of 5.
So I'm
5 out of 5
so happy
for their review.
That was very entertaining. Definitely one for the books. Maybe one of the funniest ones we've had.
Oh God.
My next 1-star review is from Cam. Welp, this experience better not be an omen for my 2022 reading. This was my most anticipated read, and oh my Lord, what a nightmare. So disappointing. So much telling. Chapter after chapter of summary. By midpoint, I realized I still barely knew the protagonist because it never actually showed me anything. You could do away with the first half and not miss a beat because nothing happens until 70 to 80% in. The editor has a lot to answer for. Wow. A little action in the last 20% isn't going to make up for no story for most of this wretched book. Voice was all over the damn place. Archaic to classic to modern vernacular. It was so goddamn inconsistent. And it never read authentic. Mafi went overboard trying to sound classic. So many cringe and out of place phrases. Barely any of the promised mythology. A character or two, and that's it. And no battles whatsoever. A circle of fire in the climax. LOL. That's it. Oh, but the worst of it was I have no idea when and where it was set, and that just ruined it. Persian names in a British setting, duchesses, hackneys, corsets, and Victorian references with Persian and Islamic culture, it did not work. It was a whole ass mess from start to finish. Can't recall ever being this disappointed with a fantasy. I went in ignoring the ugly cover, but trust me, the story inside is so much worse.
The ugly cover? I disagree.
liked the cover, actually.
Yeah.
I think the cover's really pretty. But Cam definitely touched on what I was saying earlier, where it did seem like it was this weird kind of mashup of Persian culture and mythology, but also a lot of British. And to be fair, the Brits colonized so much of the world, so it actually does track, but it was a bit jarring. It was like, oh, okay, where and when are we exactly? What is this supposed to be connecting to or correlating with? But yeah, I also do agree about the pacing. Like we said, not a whole lot happens until the very end.
Honestly, it didn't faze me that nothing happened. Like, I see what you're saying about nothing happening, but I'm like, oh, I was just learning about Alizeh.
Yeah. And I like I said, I liked hanging out with her, so I didn't mind either.
Okay. So my things are long. Why are they called reviews? Oh my God. My reviews are long. Maddie Tales is the next author of this review.
Okay.
Oh my God. How can I even explain how much I love this book? I went into this with high expectations just because Shatter Me is one of my favorite series of all time. And I was positively surprised. Not only did I love the third writing style, but the world building was great. Third person writing style. Kamran, Alizeh, and every other character like Miss Hudda had amazing characters and detailed storylines. I loved Alizeh. She had such an amazing backstory with so much mystery, and I cannot wait to find out more and more in the next book. Kamran's position in this book as the nice prince is also quite great. I loved his perspectives and his role in this entire story. Now, the romance was good. This is definitely not slow burn, but more love at first sight. But, oh wow, that first kiss was amazing. The plot twist was also great, and the introduction of the enemy was very detailed, and still I have questions. I absolutely have no idea who the love interest will be, since we have so many options and the theories in my head are running wild, but I cannot wait to see what Tahereh does with this amazing book.
Are there a lot of options for the love interest in the first book?
I don't know.
It's really just like Kamran and Hassan. There are no other men her age that could be that we are introduced to.
And the new
like
prince.
In the first book.
Oh,
inside. Yeah, but
Hassan, I mean, the new prince.
So it's Kamran, Hassan, and Cyrus. Okay. I guess I didn't even consider Cyrus because I immediately was like, oh, he's the bad guy. But honestly, I like when that happens, when the person who you're like, oh, this guy is awful. And you're like, oh, you find out more about him and his reasons for why he is the way he is. And he has this really tragic backstory. And then you feel sympathetic for them and they fall in love. It's fine.
That's fine.
I would be okay with that. That's fine. Okay. My next one is super short. It's literally one sentence. This is from Yorha. Funny how every woman in this book who isn't the heroine is either uneducated, mean, cruel, insecure, or a gold digger. And then I stopped and I was like, yeah, it's kind of true. Except for Miss Hudda. Like all of the rest of them, like mom? Jamila is mean. The Kamran's mom is awful. Miss Hudda's stepmother is awful. The head housekeeper is horrible. Yeah. There aren't any likable female characters.
That is interesting.
In this book
I feel like that's a fair criticism.
I don't know what Tahereh is trying to say there, but
if anything. Okay, this one is very short. Books and crafts. Phenomenal. No notes.
Okay.
That's it.
Directed to the point. We love that brevity and conciseness.
Yes, thank you. Books and crafts.
Okay. My last 1 star is from Robin. Okay. 1 star. I will use a quote from the book to describe how I felt. Quote, "Do you take pleasure in torturing me with this drivel?" Unquote. This woven kingdom was an I don't remember. I need to go back and look. This woven kingdom was an insipid and melodramatic waste of my goddamn time. It would be a kindness to describe the writing as meandering. In reality, it was as if the author was overcome with the Dickensian need to use as many words as possible to convey as little as possible. My takeaway, if anything, was that this woven kingdom made me appreciate brevity and the dialogue. Lots of exclamation points, lots of interrupting, lots of yelling at someone for not respecting propriety. It was unintentionally comical, but in a way that made me want to stab everyone. So once you sift through prose, The story itself is fine. It's whatever. It's really dark at the end, but I felt like it was more for shock value than anything. The best part about this book was the cover.
So now we have a cover lover and a cover hater.
So now we have a cover lover and a cover hater who are both giving it 1 stars. I didn't think the writing was that wordy. That didn't stand out to me, but yeah, I liked her like it made me want to stab everyone.
Okay, here's my final one. And it's not super long.
Okay.
Zainab, I think, is the name of the author. The last time I read a TM book was when I was a teenager, ages ago, basically. So I was worried that my teenage brain had deluded myself into thinking that every TM book will be really good. It was no delusion, I can tell you that. Tahereh is such a brilliant writer. The world building, the storytelling, the characters, everything is just so brilliantly done. And that's it.
Oh, that's lovely. Okay. That was just like a balanced, even keeled, rational.
Not like the one I opened with.
No, very cool, calm, and collected. We love it. We love it. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, that's all that we've got on our end.
Oh, thank goodness.
Obviously, we want to hear from you guys. We made it. I'm so glad. Kelsey, do you want to tell folks where they can find us so they can vote on Thursday?
Yes. Go to our social media. We are on we are at, oh my God, Lit Vibes Only _podcast on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube at Lit Vibes Only Podcast. And of course, as always, join us on Fable. It's either Lit Vibes Only Pod -Amanda or -Kelsey, depending on whose book club you want to be in, or you can be in both. Everyone's welcome.
Absolutely.
And you get to vote on our upcoming reads and highlights, book highlights on our podcast. So that's exciting. That's new this year. So we want to hear from you guys. And as always, when you are listening to our podcast, please hit the download button because that actually gets us more viewership and seen in the world of podcasting. So the more you do that, the more it helps us. And we just really appreciate that. So
so much. Yes. And then, of course, still rate and review. That also helps us as well. It takes 2 seconds to hit that 5-star button and maybe a minute to write us a really quick review. So if you're out there, especially if you've been listening to this podcast for a minute or more, take a moment to do that. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.